I'm in a hurry here because the man I'm talking to is in line to get on his airplane, literally. Rick
I'm boarding it
Mixter,
right now.
and he's boarding it right now. Don't go into airplane mode until they force you to, and we'll have a couple of minutes. The reason I asked Rick on, obviously, today is the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and Rick Mixter is a noted historian of shipwrecks in the Great Lakes and has dived on it and written about it and filmed about it and done everything about it there is. And, you know, here we are, Rick, 50 years later. Have we learned anything that we didn't know about the Edmund Fitzgerald?
I think so. I mean, it's more of the process of elimination where you go through and decide which things are not correct. There was never a shoal that vessel ran into. There were never three waves. That was another theory that would have brought down the Anderson. So it really comes down to structural failure and a captain that never missed a fight. He went through 4 gales, McSorley did, in 1975 alone, from April to November, with that tragic one that brought down the crew. 29 lives lost for a guy that thought his ship could make it through.
And, you know, it literally has been the subject of I don't know how many dives, how many so-called experts there are, all with their own theories, and that most of that's been stopped now, hasn't it?
I think so. You know, I went down and saw all the taconite behind the back of the Edmund Fitzgerald, that was the clue that the ship did not take a nosedive the way that most people thought it did. So I think that's a major clue. And then to talk to these different crew members that served with McSorley that said that he nearly got killed by them on board the Zanzibar with Captain Capser. And of course, the cook that's so incredible in my documentaries that are on PBS, where he talks about going to the life raft and waiting for the ship to sink underneath them. It's all very clear that this guy pushed that ship but believed it would make it through. And quite frankly, Captain Cooper on the Anderson thought the same. He thought his ship was infallible. And that comes from years of pushing through storms and not getting, lost. And I think that was a tragic thing for 29 guys on board the Fitzgerald.
So the ship rests at the bottom. Is it diveable anymore? Didn't the Canadian government put a hold on all that?
They've always had a license system. That's what we had when we went down there before the body was discovered. But you need to get a permit. It's not off limits. There's no $1 million fine unless you go down there and damage the ship. But you do need to get a license, and one hasn't been given since the bell was brought up in 1995.
And what caused the stoppage? Was it the fact that somebody brought the bell?
It was part of it was part of the body for sure, and the second part was that scuba divers started to dive the Edmund Fitzgerald, and those scuba divers, now you didn't need a $70,000 submarine to go and see the wreck, and that freaked a lot of people out. And then when Whitefish went through and did a sonar on the shipwreck as well, that really made it susceptible. So I think the families pushed even harder, and that's when they really tightened the regulations.
How deep is it?
550 to the very back of the ship, which is the stern section, and really beyond most means. But now with the robots, we can go down there with a $300 ROV.
Yeah, and you mentioned the body, of course, and that certainly was one of the turning points too, wasn't it?
It really was. It turns out that, quite frankly, that was the linchpin that people thought everybody was trapped inside the shipwreck, and it wasn't. It was a guy that was off by the open pilot house door, and it's something that still hurts families' feelings today, which I can totally understand. But as a journalist, we don't shirk from that. We do not stop, talking about the things that are important of that. And 9/11 is such a classic example of, the footage that we've seen from those things and the pain that it brings.
I'm curious, in today's age, Rick, we've got these 1,000-foot freighters out there. Are they just as susceptible as the Fitzgerald was, or are they built to a different standard today?
They're just as susceptible as the Edmund Fitzgerald, but the problem is, they could carry 70,000 tons, so they don't need to make as many trips. And quite frankly, when in 75 we had 300 ships carrying cargo on the Great Lakes, now we have less than 85. So, there's 12,000-foot freighters that carry that, and when 10-foot waves come, they just go in part. It doesn't make sense, and plus the pressure of the Chinese steel and all the foreign steel has really cut our market down. So That's why we see less traffic, less accidents. And I think just sailing over the site of the Edmund Fitzgerald brings a lot of, maybe a little more precision by these guys because of what happens. And the song playing, too. You can't argue that, a song about 29 guys being lost has got to be a reminder.
Are the rules for the captains the same? It's still a captain's... Yes, don't forget to buckle your seatbelt. Is it true that that the captain still has discretionary power over these things?
All that, and when people start to blame the shipping companies, that's a little wrong, because quite frankly, the ship itself, the shipping companies don't get a voice in that. And they're not the greedy people. They don't want an $8 million ship to go down with a seasoned crew, So literally they have to know that it's not worth it for a belly full of pellets. But the captain always makes that call. He used to get bonuses back in 1913, and that was when they would get bonuses because the ice was coming and they would have to give up, their the shipping. And now we don't see those bonuses. You don't see people getting credit, and the captain has the ultimate call to say, no, I'm not going to go sail in that. And many of them made the right choice in that storm. Art, if you look at the Blau, it went behind the Isle Royal and hid. If you look at the Ryerson, it went into Thunder Bay, and 7 other ships went at Whitefish Bay.
Yeah. Well, listen, Rick, I appreciate your time this morning. They're going to tell you to put your phone on airplane mode in a moment. So
hurts because I'd rather talk to you.
Yeah. Well, listen, have a safe flight. At least you're on a plane today. Rick was delayed yesterday by many, many, many hours. So you're finally going to get out of Duluth and fly home. But we'll look forward to talking to you in the future a little bit more and get you up here.
Anytime that you have time, I would be more than thrilled, my friend.
All right. Have a safe flight. Thanks a lot.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Rick Mixter, in my view, one of the reigning experts on Great Lakes shipping and the Edmund Fitzgerald. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will have open phones for the remainder of the hour. Got to talk a little bit about my trip, talk about the government now that they have at least an agreement in the Senate to open government. We'll talk all about that when we return.
This Veterans Day, Amigo
And we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. We will have open phones for the remainder of the hour. 989-752-6111. Whatever you'd like to chat about. We'll talk about the government shutdown ending in a moment, or almost ending. I just want to talk for a minute about my recent travels, because I'm always asked. So I thought I'd lay it out on the table. Those that listen know that I'm a rail fan. Since I was a young child in New York City, traveled by train and sleeper cars almost all my life. A couple of times a year to Kansas City, where my mother was from New York City. And that continued on through the rest of my life. Much of what I did traveled by train. So I like it. Now I use it as forced relaxation. So this recent trip, the past 2 weeks, I went to San Diego, California, to meet up with a friend of mine from this area, whose name you know, Art Noe from Art Noe Appliances. But there was a very special reason. Art was one of the 13 recommissioning officers when the USS Midway CV-41 was recommissioned. And he was, at the time, a Lieutenant JG, served in the active Navy on the Midway. And then when he left active duty, became a reservist for many, many, many years and ended up a lieutenant commander. And so we were going to go to San Diego to visit the Midway and, really soak up the atmosphere of that ship. But I took the train. I went from Ann Arbor to Chicago to Los Angeles on the Southwest Chief, and then from Los Angeles to San Diego on the Pacific Surfliners. However, there was a little bit of a change there that I'll have to explain, because the Southwest Chief, as it happens, was running 3 hours late. And I knew if I went all the way into Los Angeles, I would miss that connection. But in chatting with an Amish gentleman who I spent quite a bit of time with on the train, he told me that he and his wife were getting off in Fullerton to catch the same train I was going to catch, because they were heading to San Diego. And I said, Fullerton, why are you doing that? He says, well, because it chops a half hour off of the trip, an hour actually, because it was a half hour from where we were in Fullerton into Los Angeles, another half hour for the train to come down to Fullerton. He said, I don't miss the train that way, because if I'd stayed on this train, I would miss my connection. So I said, what a great idea. So I found out that my ticket from Los Angeles to San Diego was just as good from Fullerton. So I got off in Fullerton with the Amish couple, and sure enough, about 20 minutes later, here comes the train. We were going to connect in Los Angeles, and I got on the train and made San Diego on time. It's all part of traveling with Amtrak. You have to expect delays and be prepared to adjust accordingly. So we spent a couple of days. We did the Midway tour, and Art was pleased that when he got there, and it was a shock. As we walked up the gangway to get on the carrier, there was a sandwich board sign outside that said, "Welcome Midway Sailor Art Noe," and there it was in big, bold letters. And we got inside, and he found one of the head of security, actually, for the nonprofit that has the Midway, and he took us on the tour. We spent probably a couple hours touring the ship. It was wonderful, really was wonderful. Did some other things in San Diego, and then when my time was up and Art was going on to Vegas to the SEMA show, I was going to fly up to Portland, Oregon, because I wanted to come back on the northern train, the Empire Builder. So flying was the only part of the trip of which I was unsure because of the shutdown. My flight was supposed to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning on Alaska Airways. I'd never flown them before. 7 o'clock in the morning. So I decided I'll get to the airport in San Diego at 5:30. Now, understand that most of the time, those early morning flights, there's not that many flights out early in the morning. So the airports usually aren't that crowded. I got there at 5:30. The line for the TSA regular check looked like a Disneyland snake. There were hundreds of people. And the TSA pre-check line that I was using had a whole group of people, but not nearly as much as the regular line. So after I checked in with Alaska Airways, checked my bag and all that stuff, I got on the pre-check line. It took a half hour to get through pre-check. So by the time I got through pre-check, I'd done my counter thing with Alaska Airlines and started to find my way around that airport, I made it to the boarding area 5 minutes before they started to board. After that, it was flawless. We got off on time. The flight was actually early getting into Portland. No problems that way. And in Portland, I took a car down to Union Station in Portland, one of the grand old Victorian-type stations. It reminds me a lot. It's bigger, but it reminds me a lot in some ways of Potter Street. And train was on time, left on time, and actually got into Chicago 2 days later within 10 or 12 minutes of what our arrival time should have been. So it was perfect. Not chancing it, though, I laid over in Chicago for the night and took an early morning train out from Chicago to Ann Arbor. And all in all, was a wonderful experience. I call rail fanning like I do, forced relaxation. 2 days from Chicago to Los Angeles, 2 days from Portland to Chicago, and you are literally forced to relax. What else are you going to do? You can sit, look out the windows. You can read. I do take my computer with me, and when I have cell service, if you're paralleling highways and things, you almost always have it. But when you get off into the deep woods, you don't have it. But I take my computer because if I don't go through my emails and notes and stuff, when I get back, I'm buried. But all in all, it was a great, great trip. Went through Montana, and there was tons of snow on the ground. And I kept telling myself, boy, I'm glad I'm going to get home to some warmer weather. Well, here I am, folks. Sorry, everybody here says I brought the snow with me. Anyhow, I just thought I'd relate that to you. Now, just to touch on this, we do have callers. We'll get to those calls in just a couple of moments. The deal to end the shutdown of government has been reached in the Senate. There were 8 Democrats that crossed over to vote with the Republicans. What happens now is it has to go to the House to get reaffirmed. Unfortunately, the House is not in session. So they either have to call back the House and get everybody there to get it done quickly, or it's not going to be until like December 10th when they're scheduled to come back before they get approval of it. It extends the government through January, increases the SNAP money, other than that, keeps the government going at the level it's going at. It also would reverse recent layoffs of thousands of federal workers, barring any further firings until January 30th. Those terminations have been temporarily barred by a federal court. But it does not address the subsidies for Obamacare. That has to be negotiated. The tax credits, which millions of Americans rely on for help to pay premiums, have been at the center of this fight. The other thing that's happening, I was going to say the Democrats are eating their young, but they're not. They're eating their old, because this has created a huge chasm inside the Democrat Party. And, some, like Newsom of California, has called the deal malpractice. Democrat versus Democrat as it's ended. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, what we're going to do is take a break. When we come back, we'll get to Bob and we'll get to Dan when we return.
When every dollar counts, but safety can't.
Hi, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show, and let's get to our phones this morning. Bob is in Breckenridge. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Art. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I got a little talk there maybe on Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
I sailed on the Great Lakes for 20 years. I've been retired since '07, but I got some thoughts and things about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they talked about, being a little rambunctious in the gales, and I'd often wondered that, because when I started sailing in '87, they were pretty careful with getting out in any kind of weather like that. They would use the hooks whenever they thought necessary. They didn't want to expose, the ships, the crews, and the cargo especially.
Well, they had the experience of the Fitzgerald to look back on.
Right, but there were other ships before that.
I know it.
You got the Morale,
sure,
and countless others.
Yep,
countless others. But they go through there, and they them boats are powerful and strong, and they take a lot of abuse. But boy, you just wonder what led on to that.
Yeah,
we'll probably never know. There's nobody, obviously. Well, there's one fellow that knows, but he's not telling. But that thing went to the bottom, and that's the end of the story there.
Well, I think all most credible accounts of it now think it's split.
Yeah, there was something had to have catastrophically happened.
And the hatches either weren't sealed right or what have you, and the hatches came off, and the water went in, and the boat, V'd in the middle, so to speak.
Right. Most of the time, in fact, all of the time I sailed, they always put all the clamps on when there was going to be any type of heavy weather.
Absolutely.
Now, and in the summertime, they wouldn't. They might put just a few, every other one, maybe not even every other one on.
Right.
And even those clamps, they could always fail.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, and particularly now in these days and age, they can look at their radars and know what they're going into. They know if they need them or not. They can look at them.
Yeah, weather forecasting is out several days now on that.
Yeah,
absolutely. I went to the Maritime Academy, and they put you through. I was an engineer, not a mate, but they put the guys through meteorology type courses so that they can judge the weather and learn know things about that.
You went to the Maritime Academy in New York?
Oh no, Great Lakes, Traverse City.
Great Lakes, Traverse City. Okay. Yep.
No,
Very good.
I'm not an Eastern boy. They're not like you. I sailed with some guys from Maine and Massachusetts, and of course Kings Point. That's the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Well, listen, we thank you for your service, though. I mean, it's important work.
Yeah, well, my service. I wasn't in the Navy or anything.
No, but it was still service.
Me well.
Yep, still service.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, I guess.
Takes away from their family and all of that stuff,
Yes, they did reward us fairly well, but, you are away from home for a while.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, listen, thanks for your insight. We appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for taking my call. You guys have a great day.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Yep, bye now.
And let's go to Bay City, and we'll talk to Dan this morning. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning. How you doing, Art?
Doing very well, thanks.
Chipper.
Yeah, I feel good, too.
Good. Well, if the Republicans have been trying to get rid of Obamacare since day one, so it's pretty much they're going to probably succeed this time, but I'd like to see if there's going to be any kind of a program or something to replace it, because there's a lot of people that they don't seem to ever come out with anything.
I'm not as pessimistic about it as you are. I don't think they're going to get rid of it. I think they're going to modify it. They're going to try and improve it because it's extremely expensive. It is not inexpensive. Now, that's why the subsidies came along. And I suspect they'll keep the subsidies, but maybe they'll put some different rules on who gets them and what, how you can use them and things of that nature. But I don't think, I think we're too far into Obamacare unless they come up with a completely different program that does what it's supposed to do. I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of Obamacare in its form. But I don't think it ever lived up to its hype as to how inexpensive it was going to be. It actually, when you look at it, costs as much, if not more in some ways, because the deductibles went through the roof. So, unless you are very, very low income, your deductibles are out of sight, and the cost of the policy is out of sight. So it's not inexpensive by any means. It just was provided a way to get it. That's all.
Well, it's that way wherever you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody's is just sky high.
Yeah, it has. It has. But they were. But the theory of Obamacare was it was going to circumvent that, and I often believed, and still do, that it was an attempt to force everybody onto a government program. It failed. It failed that way, and it's not really succeeded in doing anything to lower medical costs. So we're right back where we started in some ways.
Yeah, and there's also another illusion that a lot of people have that are younger, that people on Medicare they don't pay anything.
Yeah, I can guarantee that's not true.
I can too.
First of all, you paid
I mean,
for it
that
all
was
your
a-
life, all your working life. You paid for it.
Yeah.
And as a
then
working individual past my Medicare age, I'm still paying for it. On the one hand, I collect with it, but on the other hand, I'm still paying for it.
Well, it comes right out of our Social Security money.
Well, it comes out of, well, not only that, comes out of my check
Yeah.
because I'm still paying in
Well, yeah.
the Social Security and the Medicare portions because I'm working.
Well, you should retire. You're old enough.
Not going to happen.
I don't blame you. I'm still doing a little part-time stuff.
Good for
myself.
you. Good for you.
78, but
I just,
you got to keep the mind active.
you got it. That's the key. I once asked a neurologist about that, and we were talking about dementia and things of that nature. And I said, I have a mind job. I'm always on. I'm always looking for things. I'm always thinking about things. I have to come in prepared and all of that. And he said, don't discount that. Keep the mind active.
that's true.
So that's what
Very
I do.
true. Okay.
Hey,
You have a good day, Art.
well, Dan, you too. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, well, maybe
Yeah.
the House will get back into session, eh?
They'll have to call him back. I hope they do. Get this done and get it over with so we get our airlines back to shape. We get SNAP programs. We get everything back where it belongs. And
Yeah.
all the federal workers who have been working without pay, God bless them, I'll tell you.
Exactly.
I flew out of San Diego a week ago Monday. No, I flew out of San Diego a week ago today. And the TSA workers I encountered, I said to every one of them, thank you for being here. And to which they thanked me. Because, I mean, and not all of them were there. I mean, you could tell half the lanes were shut down. But the ones that were there were working hard, I'll tell you. God bless them.
That's true.
All
Thanks,
right.
Art.
Good enough, Dan. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye now. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more.
Hi, I'm Kitty.
This is a coordinated monthly test of the broadcast stations of the East Central Michigan operational area. Equipment that can quickly warn you during emergencies is being tested. If this had been an actual emergency, such as a weather-related or civil emergency, official messages would have followed the alert tone. This concludes this test from the Emergency Alert System.
This is a test of the emergency.
Carl, good morning to you.
Good morning, Art. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah, you got back just in time to enjoy the weather.
Yeah, I brought the weather with me. That's what they're accusing me of.
I guess, yes. Well, when you were gone, there was also an election last week.
Yep.
Was that the Democrats did pretty well.
Yep, they did.
considering.
And now they're eating their young,
You know,
and I have a feeling that they're going to wipe out whatever gains they had last week.
Well, there are differences in the Democratic Party, no doubt.
Yeah, but
I
now
think
they're in the
that's a little
forefront. Now they're not
exaggerated.
behind the scenes. Now they're out in the open. Big time.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
think
true.
you
I
could
mean,
say
there's
the same
differences
thing
in the Republican
about the
Party, too.
Republicans. You know, the Republican Party has a problem with white supremacy right now, and which side of Tucker Carlson you're on, and you know, these interviews of, you know, these racists, and
Well, basically,
so, you know, it's not.
basically what you're saying is both parties have their problem, and that's why this country is divided right down the middle. Basically, that's what it is.
They are.
That's what it is.
So now we have this agreement in the Senate, or the vote in the Senate. So I understand part of this agreement is there's going to be a vote on these Obamacare subsidies soon.
I
They've been
think
guaranteed at least a vote.
December 10th or something. I don't know, something like that. They'll sit down and negotiate, and who knows what'll come out of it. But
Okay, but
yeah,
the House is But like you said, the House is going to have to come back.
First, they have to call him back, and I don't know if they're going to call him back or if they're going to wait for the end of the. I don't want to call it a vacation, but whatever it is.
Paid vacation?
Well, yeah, theoretically they're in the district working, but